Candyland is a totalitarian country run by the Candy King. Traditionally, men stay at home and make candy while the women work in the fields twisting candy canes. The law in Candyland forces children to graduate from school at the age of 10 and enter into the traditional gender roles and contribute to the country's candy production. The average temperature in Candyland is minus 40 degrees Celsius, and the candy cane is seen as a symbol of both status and religion. In this segment, we meet Lolly, an 18-year-old male whose family immigrated to Canada from Gumdrop Pass in Candyland 5 years ago. Lolly's parents decided to immigrate to Canada and live a democratic society. Lolly is currently facing challenges with balancing both his Candyland culture and his newly acquired Canadian customs. His parents are currently unemployed because of language barriers and a lack of education. Lolly has felt the pressure to become the main provider for his family. This new role is presenting challenges as he wishes to take on a more Canadian way of living, including moving out of his parents' household.
So, to summarize what you just told me, it sounds like you are feeling like you've been supporting your family, and now you're concerned about what's going to happen once you move out. I'm just wondering if we could explore this a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in Candyland, the oldest child stays in the home of the parents, and it kind of cares for them until they die. But I kind of like my own life. I don't want to live with my parents forever. I mean, maybe if I'd never moved here, it would have been different. But I mean, just seeing other people move out, and, away from their parents, and kind of start their own lives, it's kind of made me want the same.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're feeling stuck between the Candyland way and the new Canadian way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're trying to remain close to your cultural heritage, but yet explore new ideas and new identities.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've kind of struggled with this since I moved to Canada.
Your identity?
Yeah, like balancing my Candyland identity, but also exploring a Canadian identity. I mean, ever since we moved to Canada, I've kind of felt tugged back and forth between the two. I mean, I'm really grateful to my parents for moving us here and giving us great opportunities, but I mean, it hasn't been easy.
I'm curious to know what are some of the things that have been difficult for you since moving to Canada?
Well, I mean, because of my parents' age and their limited education, they haven't really been able to get good jobs. I mean, they spend a lot of time unemployed. I mean, back home, my family didn't struggle with money, so it's been very challenging for them. I mean, they kind of fought a lot when we first moved here, mostly about money. I just wanted to help, so I kind of got a job in the evenings after school, and I just kind of tried to help them out as much as I could.
So you're concerned about your parents' financial situation when you move out, is that right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that they'll be all right if I'm not there, but I still worry about it. I mean, I think my biggest worry is that if I move away, that they'll become isolated.
I'm not sure I understand that clearly. Could you explain that to me?
Well, I mean, the way it is, my parents don't speak English too well, so I usually go with them to shop and do most of the things, actually, just the everyday things. I'm kind of afraid that they'll have a difficult time without me being there.
Do your parents have any connections to any people from Candyland that are living in Canada or even the city here?
Well, I mean, there aren't too many of us here. I mean, but yeah, I suppose they know some people from Candyland that do live in the neighborhood.
How would you feel if you knew that your parents were remaining in contact with those people from Candyland and could call them if they needed to?
Actually, I mean, I would feel better knowing that they're not left on their own all the time, and we're kind of getting out of the house, which has been tough. I mean, maybe if I could make sure that they keep some connections with others in their community, it could be good. Yeah.
It sounds like you feel a lot of responsibility for the well-being of your parents.
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, I spent my childhood in Candyland, and I kind of know what it was like there. But I mean, I also spent many years here in Canada. I had the opportunity here to be in school where I learned so much about Canada, and I was kind of able to make my English a lot better. My parents, they weren't so lucky. I mean, it was harder for them. All they've known their whole life has been Candyland, basically. So I mean, because they couldn't get jobs here and they haven't had much opportunity to be out and learn much about Canada or become good at speaking English, I mean, it has been definitely difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of holds them back. I feel like. I mean, I just want to make sure they're okay. And I guess I'm kind of afraid of moving out. I mean, what will it do to my siblings too?
How do you think it will affect your siblings if you move out?
Well, I mean, they were born here in Canada, so it's kind of different. I mean, I feel like I'm I guess the bridge between the two cultures. I'm worried about what will happen if I move out.
Is there any way that you could maintain a connection with them if you do move out?
I mean, yeah, I guess I could if I call them and if I visited them as often as possible. That'd be good.
You think that would be beneficial to both you and your siblings?
Yeah, I mean, I want to maintain a good relationship with them and with my parents. So, I mean, with my parents, I feel like, to keep a good relationship, I have to follow kind of the Candyland traditions. I'm afraid of what they might think when I tell them I want to move out. I mean, there are many things about the Canadian culture that they just don't agree with, and I'm sure this will be one of them.
Have you done things in the past that were not traditionally Candyland ways?
Well, I mean, in Candyland, the men work in the home, so I mean, they were kind of my parents. They were surprised with me when I told them about my after-school job.
Mm-hmm. How did your parents react when you told them you had an after-school job outside of the home?
Well, I mean, they didn't like it at first, but they understood that I want to explore new aspects of my cultural identity. I mean, they weren't pleased that I got a job working outside of the home, but
Did they accept it though eventually?
yeah. I mean, once I explained to them why I was kind of doing it, and that in Canada most people work outside of the home, I mean, they were okay with it. I mean, they always end up saying, after all, this is why we came to Canada. It's kind of to give you new opportunities, choices.
I'm wondering how your parents would react if you brought up the idea of moving out.
I don't know.
Do you think you would be comfortable discussing that with them?
I don't know if it would be comfortable, but I mean, I know I have to do it.
Would you like to maybe work together and maybe bring up some topics and some ideas that you could bring forward to them?
Sure.
That would be helpful?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, what I'm getting from you is that you feel like you've been supporting your family, and now you're concerned about what's going to happen once they move out.
Yeah, I mean, well, back in Candyland, the oldest child stays at home with the parents, cares for them until they die. I mean, I'd like my own life. I don't really want to live with my parents forever. I mean, maybe if I had never moved here, it would have been different. But seeing other people kind of move out with their parents' lives, seeing my friends do it, I kind of want the same.
So you really want to move out?
Yeah, I mean...
Well, you're 18, right? So you're old enough to move out then.
Well, it's true, but I mean, I'm really concerned about my parents.
Your parents are grown up, so I'm sure they'll be okay once you move out.
Well, I mean, actually, they don't speak English very well, and I'm kind of concerned that they may become isolated. I mean, if I'm not there to help them in the community, it's hard to explain, but it's...
Well, maybe if you move out, it would give them the opportunity to learn English. I mean, you won't be there to help them so much, so they'll have to learn to do it on their own.
Okay, so are you saying that I'm kind of creating an opportunity for them to depend on me?
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
All I'm saying is that when I was 18, I moved out of my parents' house and everything worked out fine. Do you think maybe there could be a possibility that your exaggerating a little bit on what could happen?
I guess you're right.
What's that around your neck?
Oh, it's a symbol of my religion. I mean, I've had some grief over it too, because I mean, people don't really understand it.
So what about it is it that causes you grief?
Oh, I mean, it's kind of because it stands out, and I mean, people ask me about it all the time, and I mean, I often feel centered out.
Is there maybe anything, any other way that you could express your religion without wearing that around your neck?
Not really.
Well, is there anything else bothering you? We still have half an hour left.
We, I mean, not really. I mean, I'm just worried about my parents and about them. I mean, what do they think about me when I tell them that I want to move out?
Okay. Well, we can continue talking about that if you want.
Good. I mean, I think I might feel better if we could.
So you're afraid what your parents are going to think of you moving out?
Yeah, I mean, moving out's not really our way. Like, it's not how it would happen if we were living in Candyland. I mean, I'd stay with my parents as long as they were alive.
Oh, that's interesting. How exactly does that work in Candyland?
Well, it's just not the way it's. I mean, it is like in Candyland. It's the way it's always been. I mean, the oldest child takes care of the parents as long as they're alive.
I didn't realize that there were places like that.
Well, it's been that way since the first Candy King, centuries ago.
So tell me more about this king, the Candy King.
Yeah, well, what do you want to know?
I don't know. He just sounds interesting. I've never really known about like an actual king ruling a country.
Well, I mean, basically, it's like there was a Candy King, and he ruled the country. I mean, it's basically. I mean, it used to be good back then. I mean, he used to take care of us, and but I mean, something changed, and I mean, it just became a totalitarian regime. If that makes sense. I mean,
Okay.
really, it was just really. We were distressed. We had to go,
Yeah.
and it's distressing.
Okay. Well, so back to the problem with your parents and moving out. Let's just go back there for a minute. Um,
I mean, I just don't want to disappoint them.
okay. Yeah, I can appreciate that. I disappointed my parents once, and that didn't go over too well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they got over it. Parents usually get over things like that.
Oh,
I'm sure your parents will get over it too.
I mean, I hope so.
You seem like a very mature young man. I'm sure your parents would be very proud of you.